India, blessed with a rich heritage and culture, storytellers find abundant inspiration within its own borders. As one of the world's oldest and most diverse civilizations, our society has nurtured countless storytelling artisans across various media who have successfully showcased Indian culture on the global stage. Some of these gifted storytellers are here with us today, forming the panel for our upcoming discussion, which promises to delve into how these stories can cinematically enliven and celebrate the essence of what truly defines our cultural identity. Please join us in welcoming, with a warm round of applause, an accomplished writer, novelist, poet, and researcher who has authored over 50 books, over 200 research papers, over 1,000 newspaper articles, and our moderator for this panel discussion, Dr. Makarand Paranspe. Let us now welcome director, screenwriter, and producer who has produced the famous album Vande Mataram and has also directed the official music video and opening ceremony of the 2010 Commonwealth Games, Mr. Bharat Bala. Up next, we have the renowned author who is among the fastest selling authors in the history of Indian publication, best known for the Shiva trilogy and Ramchandra series, Mr. Amish Tripathi. Finally, we have Member Secretary and Executive and Academic Head of the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, who is also a scholar of history and mass communication, a noted writer, poet, and actor, Dr. Sachidanand Joshi. May I now request Srimati Vrunda Manohar Desai, Joint Secretary Films, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, to please join us on stage to felicitate our guests.
That would be better. So if you just come. Right. Thank you so much for coming, sir. For you. We can share for some time. Yeah. Calories. I'm not eating that. Only for the photo. Sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's why thank you so much. So one for you. Thank you. No, sir, we have more. No. Thank you so much. Sir, thank you
Thank you, ma'am, for joining us with the felicitation. And now, over to Dr. Makran Paranspe with a gracious request to commence the conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vrinda ma'am. Thank you, Vani ji. Thank you, Shekhar Kapoor ji. And of course, our very distinguished panelists. But most of all, thank all of you for remaining here after Mr. Ranbir Kapoor's exit. It's really a hard act to follow, but I hope that we will have a meaningful conversation today. I just wanted to start by saying, I don't know if all of you here know why today is a very, very special day. Anybody has any clues? I'll give you one clue. In the spiritual history of modern India, today is a very special day. Does anybody know why? थोड़ा सस्पेंस रखना चाहिए, बाद में बताऊंगा, end में, ठीक है? But numerically, it's 24/11/24, so there's a very special symmetry to it, okay? I just want to say a few words in the beginning and then hand it over to my panel. We plan to have an opening round of about 7 minutes for each of the panelists, then a round of discussions around some topics of interest, I hope, and then Q&A. And in between, we want to show you a few clips. Is that all right? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, as all of you know, India is a land of stories. In fact, it is a treasure trove, a storehouse of stories. And we don't need Salman Rushdie to tell us this. In Haroon and the Sea of Stories, as you know, which comes from the, Katha Sarit Sagar, obviously, it's a translation, which in turn comes from Brihad Katha of Gunadhya, which is in a language nobody today knows, a language called Paishchachi. I don't know if you heard of Brihad Katha, but these stories which emerged from India, from the Ramayana, from the Mahabharata, from the 18 Puranas, even before, the cycles of stories in the Vedas themselves. Here's my second clue about why today is a special day. And they circulated all over the world. The Jatak tales, the Panchatantra, and stories that were later famous in the West, like Aesop's fables and Boccaccio's The Decameron. Most of these stories, in a way, emerged from India itself. And circulating around the world, these stories returned to India. So we are very fortunate to be in the land of storytelling and the land of storytellers. And we have some very distinguished storytellers on our stage today. But I also want to say that India is also the land of movies and movie making. In fact, movies, in a sense, you might even claim, at least tangentially, began in India. At least the starting point of movies, India had a very deep connection with that. The Lumiere brothers showed one of the first movies about a moving train in Mumbai. And it is said at the Taj Mahal Hotel, and it is said that the audience was really afraid that the train was going to come and hit them, the way it was designed. And right from the times of Raja Harishchandra, this has been a great movie-making nation and culture. And now, if you add television and OTT, and look at the linguistic strength of India, not just the Hindi film industry, but the great film industries of the South, the 4 great languages of the South, plus Bengal, Maharashtra, Punjab, Odisha, Assam. If you put all of these together, I don't think there is any geography, cultural geography in the world, which has the kind of wealth of storytelling and the riches of India. So this is going to be our topic today, and later I might try to spice it up with 1 or 2 provocative questions. But I think we can begin in the order of seniority, which is also the reverse alphabetical order. And my colleague and friend, Dr. Sachidanand Joshi, who has been running the IGNCA, the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts in Delhi, for 9 years. He has recently done extraordinary work in actually doing the art inside the new Parliament building. He's also in the process of changing the interiors of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. These are only a couple of his great achievements. He's a poet in Hindi. He writes beautiful stories. His books are published. He's a thinker, he's an intellectual. I would say he's a cultural czar, if you like the word czar. With these words, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Makaran, for such a beautiful and illustrious introduction. And I must thank the organizers for inviting me on this panel. As they say in the advertising field, the product which you think is not in a position to sell itself, you do a nice packaging to sell it. So you have done nice packaging for me, so thank you very much for that. Anyway, on the topic of storytelling and the narrative which we are trying to find out. As we all know, traditionally, we have been a compulsive storyteller. I should not speak it in front of Amish, of course, he's a master in that, but all our traditional texts are in form of stories or narrations. Either Shiv has told some story to Parvati ji, or Garud has told some story to Kakabhushundi, and that is how the story has progressed. Even all these stories in the Bhagavad, in the Mahabharata, in other texts, everything is being told. So we have been compulsive storytellers traditionally. Even in our households also, I don't know many youngsters I am seeing, and how many of you are really blessed or lucky enough to listen to the stories from your grandmother. I don't know. There are few hands I am seeing. Okay. Yeah, from your mother, of course. But if we talk to the generation which is younger than you, the hands would be fewer. And definitely the trend is slowly going off, because now we have gadgets like mobiles and iPods and everything, so we don't get those kind of stories. And what these stories do is very interesting. It's not only the stories of great people or Ramayana or Mahabharata or other texts which are related, but there are some very interesting stories, very inspiring stories which are woven around you, and some very nice characters. They may not be very great characters, very popular characters, but they have something in them. And that substance also teaches you something, gives you something to think about, some inspiration. Maybe some student, some hardworking student who is not that well off, doing some work to earn his fees for the studies, and then he is doing something, or some lady working in your own house to sort of get the resources to give fees to her son, children. That is all, those are all interesting and inspiring stories. But unfortunately, because of the loss of the storytelling tradition in our own household, these stories are missing. And everyone is now looking for a very great narrative, very big narrative. So what these films are doing, interestingly, now recent trend is that these stories of common persons or general inspirational things, motivational things, picked up from the grassroots of the society, are being highlighted in the form of cinema, and people are getting inspired through that. One instance is that 12th pass or 12th fail, whichever is the film, that tells you a story which is very important. But normally in normal circumstances, I don't know how many of us would have known about that story. Or for instance, the story of Lapata ladies or other films. So that is the important work which I think now films are doing in form of the storytelling. I will also tell you another interesting part, which also deals with the narrative of the younger generation, because now in today's world, everyone is more of a creator, content creator, rather than consumer of the content. That is another issue that is very fast picking up. Only day before yesterday, we had a discussion in Aaj Tak, Sahitya Aaj Tak, where we were discussing about real life se real life tak. So I mean, all of us are getting converted into the real life, which is becoming problem. So we need to find out stories, and we need to find out inspirational stories, because whatever content we are putting on the cloud, on the web, is going to remain there for ages together. So we need to understand what kind of stories they are. I think with this initial end, if you kindly allow me, I'll only read one poem. It is in Hindi. I hope most of you would understand Hindi, and someone who doesn't know maybe can ask somebody who can translate this. कहाँ गई कहानियाँ, कहाँ गई कहानियाँ, कौन उड़ा ले गया कौवे के कान, किसने छीनी बंदर की तान, कौन चुराता है दाना गिलहरी का, किसने तोड़ा है राजा का मान, कौन काट लेता है लकड़ी लकड़हारे की, कौन छीनता है हथौड़ी लोहार बेचारे की, कौन दर्जी की सुई को चुरा लेता है, कौन आफत करता है मंदिर के पुजारी की, कहाँ गुम हो गए मोची नाई, कहाँ गुम हो गए चारों भाई, किसने छिपा लिया बुढ़िया को, कहाँ है गुम चालाक कसाई, बचपन के ये सारे साथी, सफेद घोड़ा मोटा हाथी, गर्जना जंगल के राजा की, मधुर स्वरों में कोयल गाती, गुम है सब कुछ तितर बितर है, सूखा जंगल उजड़ा घर है, आधुनिक यंत्रों के माया जाल में, कहानियां हमारी गई किधर हैं, कहानियां हमारी गई किधर हैं।
वाह वाह, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत खूब। तो सवाल ये है कि किसने चुराई हमारी कहानियाँ, और उसका सरल उत्तम होगा सोशल मीडिया। लेकिन हम आगे जाने के पहले एक सर की थोड़ी सी क्लिप हम देखेंगे, छोटी सी क्लिप। अभी उपलब्ध नहीं है, बाद में मिलेगी या मिलेगी ही नहीं, कोई चुरा के ले गया गिलहरी, जैसे सर ने कहा। खैर, आज का ये सत्र जो संस्कृति और सिनेमा और संदर्भ पे है, इसकी शुरुआत बहुत अच्छी तरह से हुई है और चर्चा का मेरे ख्याल से दिलचस्प ये विषय है और हम इसको आगे ले जाते हैं। आई वुड लाइक टू नाउ इनवाइट भरत बालाजी in our reverse alphabetical order before we come to Amish ji. But I think he's one of the most brilliant creative minds that we have anywhere in the world. And if you've seen Ma Tujhe Salam, I would say that he has single-handedly revived Vande Mataram, which was lost for our generation and even the younger generation. Almost single-handedly, he has revived it. He's also made Janagana Mana, as you know, and bringing in an astonishing array of artists, from Lata Mangeshkar to Amjad Ali Khan, Pandit Jasraj ji, Bhimsen Joshi ji. Many of these great people are no longer with us. Amjad Sahab is very much with us. Pandit Jasraj ji, who's not with us. And this has now become a historical record for posterity. And to assemble this project on such a scale, I think is a gargantuan, a stupendous achievement. So before I invite him to speak, I want us to see that clip. And I must tell you that he's at the moment also undertaking a very great task of chronicling more than 100 stories of India. He has just come from Nagaland, where he's made a 10-minute story. He travels in the interiors of India and captures images and sentiments which you'll never see in our urban-centric, should I say, media and, mentality. Therefore, I think that these images and sounds and the feel for India that he captures in his work is absolutely, should I say, astonishingly creative, unprecedented, and is a great service, to the cause of Indian civilization. With these words, may I please request you to show a clip? Or the clip will take 2 minutes. Is that what it is? Okay, then Bharat Balaji, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Makaran, sorry, I get confused. Thank you so much for this introduction. Yeah. I'm sitting around with so much of illustrious intellect that I'm going to say something simple. I'm being usually behind the camera, so you brought me in front, so I'll try my best. It's an honor to be at IFFI. I keep coming here for many years. And now I was sitting there and now I've got an opportunity to sit here. So I will share some stories with you. And So today's subject is about culture and cinema, okay? So I studied BSc Zoology, never been to a film school, but slipped into making advertising films. So I come from a family where my father was a part of the freedom struggle. So in mid-90s, I was very successful in my advertising work. And you know, when you're in advertising, your lifestyle is very different, okay? Even though I came from Madras, but you know, the outlook and the whole way you look at things is super contemporary of that time. One fine day, and it was for that generation of youngsters of the mid-90s and late 90s, anything about India was not cool. It was a generation of Levi's, MTV, everything coming fresh, Pepsi. So, you know, this whole American invasion, Western invasion was happening in young minds. And I had a frustrated, disturbed Gandhian at home, my father. And so one day he sat me down and he said, in advertising, you create an idea, a creative idea, or an emotion for a product. And then the audience buys into that emotion and it becomes successful. Can you create a new emotion for India? Can you create an emotion that young Indians will buy into it and bring a fervor in it? And then he pushed his, dhoti and showed me somewhere around his thighs, certain marks. He said, whenever we used to sing Vande Mataram, he was in the prison, okay, he'd been to the freedom struggles. During the freedom struggle, he was in the prison. And they used to get beaten up whenever they sang the song, the war cry for freedom, Vande Mataram. He said that song served a certain purpose during the freedom struggle. Can you find a new fervor in it for young minds? That was it. So, see, for me, it was not about I have grown up listening to Vande Mataram that comes in All India Radio early in the morning, one slow, boring song for our generation. Okay, that's how we looked at it. And now, how do I do this? So it was, and another important thing I wanted to bring to the context of culture that we are talking. Growing up, I was brought up in Madras, so there's too much of so-called culture, which means either going to a temple or listening to some rituals that are happening at home, traditional rituals, or a Bharatanatyam concert or a Carnatic concert, and I couldn't vibe with any of that. So, for me, that, whatever was not cool, to make it cool was a creative challenge. So I said, okay, I'm going to stop advertising. I'm going to create an idea called Vande Mataram. Now, I came from advertising, so for me, everything about product has to be highlighted and make it look sexy. So what was my challenge? I said, I took the flag. I said, that's my pack shot. Whenever you do a product film, you'll have a pack shot of a Pepsi or something else like that. So I said, I will put the best minds, creative minds, to create this idea. So I went to London. In those days, we were shooting in film, and we don't have high-speed cameras in India at that time. And I want to make this flag look sexy, first of all. So I wanted to create it like a sea of wave. So I went to London, to a place in Oxfordshire called Oxford Scientific Films, and they do high-speed photosonic filming. So I shot in 1,000 frames. The royal flag maker in London made me the flag of India, and I shot it so beautifully. And that became my centerpiece, my pack shot. And then I went to my friend, childhood schoolmate, and we've grown up together. Yeah, so my buddy Rahman. And I said, boss, you're very successful making feature film songs. By the way, before he did Roja, he had done 100 odd commercials for me, okay, TV commercials. And so I said, you're doing film songs. You never made an album. You're an artist. You need an album. You'll be recognized not by Tal, Dod, this and that, but as an artist, you need your own album. And I said, Vande Mataram is your first album. And that's how I brought him into Vande Mataram, and this whole creation of Maa Tujhe Salam happened. But the most important thing is, when you do an idea, like, okay, this is for India, so there's no client, who's paying for it, all that, it was self-funded. So I said, what budget? Nothing. So I said, let's go and find the best talents, best sound, best visuals, best creative mind, cinematographer, editor, jo bhi ho. So I put all of that, whatever I will put to make a best TV commercial, I said I'll put it in Vande Mataram. So then those days we were all looking at the sound of Michael Jackson, you know, that was the most happening sound. So I remember the final mix in London we did with Rahman. So before listening to the final output of the song, I said, AR, let's just play a Michael Jackson in the same setup and see how it sounds. So we played All I Want to Say Is They Don't Really Care About Us. That song I played to the right level in the studio in London, stopped it, let's play Maa Tujhe Salam. It kicked exactly like that. That moment we knew we have something with us. And most importantly, I still recall when I told AR, we're doing it now. 25 years later, it'll be a new generation. It'll not know what circumstances we have made. This sound should rock at that time also. Even music might have changed. Look at Michael Jackson. Today's generation would never have seen Michael Jackson, but they still love that song. So I'm so thrilled that the effort we put in Maa Tujhe Salam, that album, that it still kicks in. And the same thing I applied for visuals. So for example, in those days, for making any best commercial, I'll go and get a new cinematographer from London. So most importantly, I wanted to bring somebody who has never seen India, and I will take him to all the landscapes of India and show people as they are. There is no makeup, there is no choreography, there is nothing. But real people in real locations, frame it interestingly, bring out the beauty and the emotion of them, capture it. And that's what we did. So every time I put myself a test to say that it has to be the real emotion, and then only it will work. And that's what works. So, you know, moving forward, so for me, it's all about, even take, for example, you had mentioned about Jana Gana Mana, okay? Later, after doing Vande Mataram, we just discovered that we went to Rhythm House in Mumbai to say if we can find a nice soundtrack of Jana Gana Mana, and it was not available. It was some boring track. So we decided, hey man, India is a country of a rich repository of classical, Hindustani, Carnatic, folk music. And so much of Indian instruments are there. So I said, hey, let's go and record 50 renditions of the national anthem. For Bhupen Hazarika from Assam, to Balamurli Krishna in South, to D.K. Pattammal, to Bhimsen Joshi, to Amjad Ali Khan Saab, to Hari Prasad Chaurashia. We have all their versions. A Mangania singer singing it. But it's not easy. So we went and recorded with Bhimsen Joshi ji, and he sang from his heart the Jana Gana Mana. Then somebody from the government came and said, there was a PIL filed against us to say, ये 52 seconds नहीं है. तो मैं कैसे जाके पंडित भीमसेन जोशी से बोल सकता हूँ आप 52 seconds में जन गण मन गाइए. So the government of the day, that was Vajpayee ji's government and Advani ji, changed the law and released this album in the Central Hall of Parliament and said this rendition is also national. So, you know, you got to fight and move forward. Now, moving forward, I could have been in the commercial space of feature filmmaking, like he said, Lapata Ladies, 12th Fail, all that's good, it's happening, great. But I also want to be on the other side of it, which is non-fiction. I don't differentiate between fiction and non-fiction. A good film is a good film. If it holds your interest, it's a great film. So I am in the pursuit of making uniquely crafted stories of unsung people. So uncovering untold stories of India, from, you name it, from Arunachal Pradesh to Nagaland to Kerala to Odisha, we are doing it. So what's the idea? So again, we've been told that we are rich with culture. Today, nobody wants to read. Youngsters, I'm saying average people. How do I influence them about India? It has to have a sensory engagement. They need to feel visually. They need to hear it. And then I have to produce it in a way which I want to beat the hell out of mainstream films. They see Hollywood films. If you put it in YouTube, my trailer should be as comparable with any other film. So I'll say it should be the most well-crafted cinema. So we put all that effort in making 10-minute films. So we're making, he said about 100 films. We're making 1,000 films on India. And most importantly, all in its original language. Because a child in Nagaland doesn't know what an Odia sounds like, or what a Marathi sounds like, or what a Malayalam sounds like. We talk about diversity. Unless we present the diversity in its originality, how do you feel this country? So we are on a path, and not that I'm just doing it by myself. Let me make it very clear. I'm very, finicky about the way it's come together, because I want to set the standard so high, okay? So I have now chun ke from Assam to Kerala tak. We have found cinematographers, editors, directors, writers, researchers. So we've got about 55 odd people. So I choose them and I go with them and we make these films. So please check out Virtual Bharat. I'm not going to go empty-handed out of this conversation. I want all of you to subscribe on YouTube. Kali hath mat bhejiyo mere ko. I am doing to bring the stories to you. You need to engage with the stories. You need to talk about the stories and feel that it is your story. And then only we can create this large cultural movement in India of celebrating diversity, understanding diversity. Maybe we missed several generations about telling the stories of India. But today, technology and tools allows us to tell it not just to us, but to the entire world. So here's an opportunity. Let's use cinema for this purpose too. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very inspiring, fantastic. You've lived up to your name, Bharat Bala, the son of India, as his dad named him. And he's created Virtual Bharat. I said 100 films because 100 are already done. 110 are done, but 1,000 are in the pipeline. And in the process, he has created a talent bank. And I guess if some of you want to volunteer or join in, and maybe it's not just volunteer, maybe there's some money also involved. The most important thing when it comes to money is it's all
each
funded.
talent is very well paid.
There you go.
Better than the industry, because I don't want them to think that this is some social service they are doing. This is art. We need to respect them for the editor, the music composer. So we pay the very best, better than, because I'll tell you, filmy people are conjuice. Filmy people don't pay. They keep the money for only the top 3 people. Baki sabko kuch nahi milta. Here we'll give them respect, they are well credited, and they will be celebrated for what they do. And their community will celebrate them more for telling these stories.
That's wonderful. I just wanted to say he's not funded by the government or by any of the funding agencies in the Middle East. I'm not going to talk about them. Or by anybody else. It's all created through the enthusiasm of the filmmaker himself. Now, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Can we please have a clip? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Reduce the level.
Rich with thy hurrying streams, bright with thy orchard gleams, cool with thy winds of delight, dark fields waving, mother of might, mother free. Glory of midnight dreams, over thy branches in lordly streams, clad in thy blossoming trees, mother, giver of ease, laughing low and sweet. Mother, I kiss thy feet. I kiss thy feet. I kiss thy feet. Speaker, sweet and low, mother, to thee I bow. Mother, to thee I bow.
Now, I have to say that something interesting, very important that I need to mention here, that you never know when you do something, when you will engage with it. This is Om Puri's voice. 20 years ago, I recorded his voice of Sri Aurobindo's I don't know, कुछ बनाना था, मैंने कहा ये वो वंदे मातरम में इतना घुस गया था, so I said I have to record his voice, and Om Puri ji से कर दिया. And when Dr. Joshi had invited me to make a film to showcase this at the World UNESCO meet in Delhi, so and they wanted to say, hey, how do we show India? So this is not something that you can go and come around in 2 months' time. So it's a body of work. So we need to be continuously investing and collecting these so that they're there for eternity. Most important, every visual, when you grab it, has to be there for posterity. So, maza aata hai. So this is also cinema. Thank you.
रोंगटे खड़े कर देता है ना? और ये तो एक ही वर्जन है, आपने दूसरे भी देखे होंगे, माँ तुझे सलाम वाला, वंदे मातरम वाला. तो वहाँ भी शुरुआत कहाँ से होती है? थार डेजर्ट से, और बाद में मतलब बहुत ही स्थिर और शांत शुरुआत के बाद एकदम इतनी डायनामिक हो जाती है वो जो सफ़र है. व्हेन द लहराते हुए जो हमारे झंडे वगैरह है. सो इट्स एन एक्स्ट्रॉर्डिनरी, I think, and poetic tribute to Mother India. So thank you, Bharat Balaji. A great, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Don't give me applause, just subscribe to Virtual Bharat, period. मैं खाली हाथ नहीं जाऊंगा, doors are closed, we are checking all mobiles. Thank you.
Definitely, let's please do that. Let's support, share, support, and subscribe. As they say, we usually, it's not last, what's the expression? It's last but not the least. I would twist that and say we are saving the best for the last. So Amish is a dear friend of mine. I think we share a lot. We have a heart-to-heart, a soulful relationship, I must say. He comes from the eternal city of Banaras. And you know him as a great writer, but I know him as a Shiv Bhakt. I know him as a meditator. I know him as a deep thinker, as a serious and seeking soul, as a beautiful human being whose life has been a struggle, and every word he writes is full of depth and feeling. So please, a round of applause to Amish Tripathi.
Thank you so much. What a kind introduction, and what a hard act to follow, my friend. What a film, yeah. What a film. Thinking on the concept, how many of you see yourselves as storytellers? Writers, authors, filmmakers, not producers. Yeah? Everyone? Yeah? Okay. I think it was Muriel Rickenser who said that the universe is actually not made up of atoms. It is made of stories. Stories is actually how humanity connects to each other. And what is civilization except the passing of that flame of connection from our ancestors to our descendants? And we are the proud fire keepers in the middle at this point of time. Civilization is never the worship of ashes. It is about the preservation of the flame. Right? That is our job as our generation. And that task usually falls on the storytellers, because storytellers have, I think Steve Jobs had said that it is the most powerful job in the world, because people give you what is most precious, which is not their money. Their most precious thing that they can give you is their time and attention. And what you do with that time and attention is up to you, right? Whether you'll do something positive or whether you'll do something negative with it. And one of the things I think about is that if you see stories across different ages, you can almost predict to a very reasonable certainty what the cultural context was in which that story emerged. How many of you saw the recent Top Gun Maverick? Yeah? And how many of you saw the original Top Gun? Did you notice in the Top Gun Maverick, the enemy wasn't even named, right? It was almost like they were trying to be almost a little sissy. Yaar, ab enemy se kya ladoge when you can't even name the enemy, right? And is that the mood that the US was in? That, nahi yaar, be nice to everyone, Shatru bodh bhi nahi hona chahiye. Whereas The original Top Gun was very, right? It's a cultural context. See the cultural context of Indian movies, Indian cinema. You see the cinema of the 1950s, on average, I'm saying, very hopeful, positive, Naya Daur, you know, the three greats, Raj Kapoor, Devanand, and Dilip Kumar, very positive, like we have just got our independence, we are on our way. And then you see the decade of the 60s, Shammi Kapoor, Kashmir Ki Kali, just enjoyment, right? Fun. Things are going well. By the 70s, what happens? Angry young man, right? And Amitabh Bachchan as an actor was actually, he'd faced a series of flops, right? In the 1970s when he'd just come. The script that made him Zanjeer was actually rejected by most of the top actors. Amitabh Bachchan took it, I can't say I've discussed this with him, but probably because he thought, okay, at least I'm getting one option.
So desperate.
Yeah. And it created an entire new paradigm. And then by the 90s, you had Shah Rukh Khan, NRI, where Indians were at least doing well abroad, right? So is it that if you can move from story, if they imbibe it, the stories that will naturally emerge are those that will have a purpose at that time, right? And what is the cultural context of India today? Why would all of you get so emotional when you see that film? It is, how many of you know the story of Hanumanji when he was a child? Do you know he had been cursed? He'd forgotten his strength? You guys know that?
He jumped into the sun.
Yeah?
I think Angada jumped to his son thinking the sun is an apple.
Correct. Yeah. Depending on which part of India you're in, the fruit changes. Yeah. The sun could sometimes be an apple, sometimes something else. Yeah. Transmission error. Chinese whispers. Okay, wrong term. But do you know how Hanumanji actually got his powers back? Did he have to do a puja? Did he have to do a yajna? Yeah. Did he have to do a battle? You know, the Hercules had to fight a lot of battles, right, to get his power. What did he have to do? Exactly. All that had to happen was he just had to be reminded of it, right? I think we are living in a phase where India is being reminded of who we are. And this, if you think about it, when we go abroad, the way many of us Indians even look at ourselves, Are yaar, hum to bechare country hain. You know, some New York Times journalist will say something about us, hum log dubak ke baith jayenge. We are India, yaar. Right? We are today the 5th largest economy on earth. We just crossed our former colonial master, the UK. Every Indian should applaud for every other Indian for this. We are in many ways reminding ourselves of what our culture is. There's so many of us who were convinced when we were growing up, because the British would teach us that, or at least our colonial education system, which hadn't been reformed even though the British had left, that the British created India. How many of you believe that the British created India? How many of you believe that our ancestors created India? It's a very different context today than how it was, right, a few decades back. We are a nation in change. We are rediscovering ourselves. We are rediscovering the strength and the beauty of our past. But at the same time, the cultural context that should be there is that things which need to be challenged should be challenged, right? Because our ancestors did that too. Which is why I encourage all of you, read our ancient literature as well. How many of you have read, could be either be the translations or the originals of Kalidasa's plays or Bhasa's plays or Thiruvalluvar? Okay, much smaller number than I'd hoped, at least in this atmosphere. Those who haven't, there are translations available. Bhasa, Kalidasa, Thiruvalluvar, Thirukural, there are so many that you read. You read the context in which our ancestors wrote, you realize actually that they weren't so dyed in the wool, nothing can be challenged, nothing can be questioned. It wasn't like that. Bhasa wrote a play called Pancharatra. How many of you have heard of Pancharatra?
Not very popular. Urubanga is very
Urubanga also, okay. Urubanga. How many of you have read Urubanga or Pancharatra? Do you notice actually he changed the traditional interpretations of the Mahabharata? And Bhasa is considered the greatest Sanskrit playwright ever. In Pancharatra, the Mahabharata war didn't even happen. Right? But it was a very respectful, different interpretation. You read our ancestors' stories, you realize how kick-ass our ancestors were and how we are in many ways unworthy descendants of people who were capable beyond measure. There was, and this I think, Bharat, Bakranji, I know we have discussed this a long time of how Indian culture had actually expanded to many parts of the world. You've been to Southeast Asia? Yeah? How many of you? Ramayana is out there. You see Lord Ganesh statues. The largest Hindu temple is in Cambodia. Right? Buddhism went to China, Japan, Central Asia. Indonesia's airline is Garuda. The most popular religion in the ancient Roman era was Mithraism. How did all of this go there? Did India send conquerors and soldiers? Did we ever send an army? Outside of Rajen Chola, he'd sent. But anyone else? Did we send an army? No. How did our stories spread? Our stories, our culture did not spread through hard power. It spread through soft power. We didn't force others to listen to our culture. We attracted them to it. Right? This was the power of our storytellers. This is what we are rediscovering right now, which is why I think this is perhaps one of the best times in the last 1,000 years to be an Indian storyteller. All we need to do is get in touch with our real roots. Just travel, meet real Indians, learn. All of us may speak English well, right? But I encourage everyone, you must have at least 1 or 2 languages which you also speak like a native. I speak Hindi like a native as well. But that was my good fortune of birth, because at home we spoke only in Hindi. In our family, we were the first generation to be educated in English, right? You must know an Indian language. If you're in Goa, you must know Konkani or Marathi like a native, without using any English words, right? You know all this, get into our culture well. Also, don't be anti-West. There are great things we can learn from the West too. Our ancestors used to believe that knowledge can come from anywhere. Ano bhadra krito entu vishwataha. That noble thoughts come to me from any direction. This was a lovely Sanskrit line. If there are good things in the West, we should learn from them too. Goddess Saraswati can bless anyone. Learn all that you can from them as well. Have that confidence that after 1,000 years, like Lord Hanumanji, India is being reminded of its strength and power once again. Go out and tell your stories. Conquer the world once again. No, conquer is a very aggressive word. Attract the world once again to India and to our way of life.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that inspiring, should I say, call to action. And if you read his own writing, you'll see how creative it is. In the Ramchandra series, he actually discovers, uncovers, and popularizes a version of the Ramayana nobody knew about. Hardly anybody did. And tells you a different relationship between Ravan and Sita. And I can point to 100 different such, should I say, innovations that Amish has brought into his art of storytelling. And now he's branched off into podcasting. It's very well-researched, wonderfully short podcasts. And he's done a documentary, which is also widely viewed and appreciated. I think it's on the Discovery Channel. I recommend it. There are many things I can tell you about him, but what we'll do is we've almost spent an hour in this first round. Let me throw it open to you, and let's have a few questions, and then we'll come back to the panel.
Only a piece of information, because Amish referred about the soft power. So 2 years back, we edited an anthology titled Connecting Through Culture. Myself and Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe edited this anthology on soft power, By the way, this is the first anthology on India's soft power strength, in which the articles of persons like Amish are there. So whosoever is interested in reading must also grab a copy of that. It covers everything from our ancient texts to literature, to Sanskrit, to yoga, to Ayurveda, to film, to textile, to cuisine, everything. So in fact, we have requested all the prominent personalities of different fields to write on a certain format. In fact, even Amit was also asked to write in a certain format, which was quite difficult task for him. And you can understand, it's like a strict class teacher कोई काम दे देते ना कि इसको 100 शब्दों में लिख दो या 200 शब्दों में लिख दो. But not because we have edited, but it's an interesting thing to read. Whosoever wants to sort of understand the nuances of Indian culture, especially the soft power, can always grab a copy of that. Yes.
Thank you. I was reminded of, I was a member of the ICCR and Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, who's also very fluent in Hindi and Marathi. So we were just talking to him and I said, soft power, ki bahut charcha hoti hai. Isko Hindi mein kya kahen? So he said, Komal Shakti. I just loved it. It is beautiful. So, Komal Shakti, लेकिन मुझे हाँ सौम्य शक्ति भी बहुत अच्छा है. ये कठोर शक्ति, hard power and Saumya Shakti. But we should also have smart power, Chatur Shakti, you see. So on that note, let's have a few questions from the audience and then I'll come back to our distinguished panelists with a couple of, should I say, rapid fire type of questions to be answered only in a minute or two. And if the clips are ready, I'll tell you when to show them. You have one of them, right? Only one is there? One is there. Okay, we'll have that right at the end. Okay, thank you. I saw your hand up first. You're very enthusiastic, so you can please ask the question and very well read, I must say. Thank you, sir. Please introduce yourself. From Kerala, sir?
From Madras.
From Madras, okay.
I am a movie actor, acted in 175 movies in 7 languages. I teach German and French. Sir, actually, like in our culture, Indian culture, you always talk about Panchatantra, okay? But we are forgetting Hitopadesha because Hitopadesha did not become popular like Nakul and Sahadev, And I think Katha Saras Sagar and Bruhat Katha, I think that is the treasure of Kashmir. I'm right? Yes. Yeah? Yes. Am I right? Yes. It is from Kashmir, but we didn't know it is from Kashmir. And though we had Panchatantra stories, we had the material. Even in 2024, though the technology is very well developed, we have not made any film, but Americans sabotaged, not exactly Panchatantra stories, they made hundreds of greatest animation films in the world. And I think somebody should take Panchatantra and make it into a series like that. But we cannot compare. India is the greatest country which has got Mahabharata, Ramayana, and also you have to mention Betala stories, which comes in Katha Sagara. And books have come. When we were children, my mother used to tell this story. Books have come.
Sir, please ask a question. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sir, I'm also giving information. I learn from you, you learn from me. Thank you, sir.
No. In that case, we'll have to call you here next time. But next time. Okay, a question now, please, brief. Yes, I saw your hand, sir. Please introduce yourself briefly.
Hi, my name is Pankaj Sabnani. You were talking about Vande Mataram and the version you made. I would like to say that whenever we are in stadiums, when you go and this song is played organically by an audience with the phones on it, it is still like so relevant. So this is one observation, and it's hats off to you. After so many years, this song is being sung by the audience in cricket stadiums also. I want to ask about that only. You said you got all the best minds together. How did you arrange for the finances and how did you shoot so well? And this was back 25 years. So even at that time, the technology was not there. You went to London. So how did you arrange finances for this particular song? And even for your current projects, you said it is not funded, like I mentioned. So can you please brief on that? Thank you.
I'm making it clear so that I don't want Nirmala Sitharaman to be behind me. Okay? I am self-funded, but Vande Mataram, if I had said I'll make it into a PPT and try to go and get sponsors, nobody will sponsor. So I had to put it. So I self-funded it. Fortunately, in advertising, you can make some money. उसको लेके मैंने इसमें डाल दिया. So it's a smart investment I made. And finally, when you do something with so much of honesty, so much of passion, you will never fail. So I didn't fail, period. Okay? And I found it's something interesting, okay, I want to share. It's just, I'm not being cynical. Okay, let me be clear. These are facts. I went to major Indian companies and it showed them Vande Mataram, but they didn't sponsor. Colgate, a multinational, supported it at that time. So I broke this thing that whoever wants to sponsor can sponsor. So we got the support finally. So even Virtual Bharat is self-funded, but now we are getting like Azim Premji Foundation, few other foundations are coming forward. I don't want to make it like a branded content. Okay, so I just don't want anybody to interfere in the editorial or in the storytelling. So we will find right partners who have a deeper interest to see that we need to build this cultural wealth of India. Thank you.
So I have the mic.
Who said?
Sir, I have the mic.
No, I heard a lady ask.
So me.
Okay, please go ahead.
So my name is Kaushiki Saha and I'm from Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. So my question is a general question to all of you. So as Indian, we have this rich tradition of stories passing down from generation to generation. Grandparents narrating Ramayana, Mahabharata to their grandchildren. And writers like you, Sir Amish Trivedi and Chitra Banerjee, they are kind of taking this tradition forward by retelling them. But when it comes to cinematic retelling, I find it is lagging in some way or other. So if you could divulge on the reasons why it is lacking on that account.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say, please sit down, that this is a good opportunity for all of you to weigh in on this question, the question about how mainstream Indian cinema has tended to treat Indian culture. Is it a case of contamination? And if so, why and how did that happen? So what she's saying is, how is it that these mythological and other narratives which are so rich in India did not somehow find their way into mainstream Indian cinema? Only Kalki and all these things are coming out recently, or even Manikarnika. But the real trend, usual trend, has been different, except, of course, Raja Harishchandra, some Parsi theatre. There were exceptions, but is there a historical background to this question? So I would like each of you to weigh in. Amish first, please.
It's an interesting point. And you see a bit of the cultural disconnect. Largely, I'm talking about our traditional culture. I'm not saying they are un-Indian in any way. But in terms of our Puranas, our Itihasas, you see that disconnect actually only in the Hindi film industry. In the regional language film industries, actually you don't see that. I've studied in South India, in Tamil Nadu, in the 1980s. So I started watching Tamil movies, Telugu movies, and Rajnikant movies you can watch without subtitles also, it doesn't matter. I saw, but anyway, that's a separate aside. You see in our regional language movies, actually our traditional stories were always there. Telugu movies, NTR sir, N.T. Ramarao, for example. And it wasn't just about Mahabharata and Ramayana, many unknown stories would get picked up by him. Same in Tamil cinema, Shivaji Ganesan, so many others, right? You find it in Kannada. So and across regional cinema, Marathi, etc., it's only in Hindi. Which I think there are some historical reasons, progressive writers, etc. We can debate that. But what is good is actually there is an attempt to come back now, which is good because that creates stories which will stand the test of time. What any artist wants at the end of the day is, I won't lie and say money is not important. Of course not. Money is important, right? But what an artist truly wants in his or her heart is that you create some work which stands the test of time, which becomes Kaljayi. That's a Sanskrit word for classic, right? Kaljayi is actually that which defeats time, right? Literally. And if you write on stories that are so deeply rooted in the Indian way, Ramayana, Mahabharata, our Puranas, our traditions, those stories I suspect will stand the test of time, like in Telugu cinema. And if you release an NTR Sir film right now, it'll still be a hit, right? I don't know how many Telugu guys are, it'll still be a super hit, right? And it's good that the Hindi film industry is perhaps rediscovering it.
They're playing catch up, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
Briefly, I'll come back to you.
So, I mean, the question which you raised is very pertinent, and to me, I'm not a filmmaker basically, but someone who is related to some filmmaking, I can also reflect on this. There are two basic things. One is that normally people don't do the proper research on the script or the text. There are texts we all know, and there are versions of text. But because of, I don't know, because of professional compulsion or commercial requirements, you compromise on these scripts, and then you try to put 2, 3, 4 versions in one basket. So we have, I mean, even in Ramayana, you know how many Ramayanas are available in our Bharat. At least 36 stories are available. 100, okay. So that is 300, of course. So in fact, those versions, so either you follow one version, and if you are following one version, follow it honestly, rather than mixing it with 2, 3, 4 versions. Another thing is, I don't know which doctor asked a producer to make a film like Adi Purush. We need to find out that doctor and treat that doctor, not the producer. So that is another point. No offense to the producer and director, of course, but as a commoner, I can reflect. Third thing is that in filmmaking, unfortunately, there are people like Bharat Bala who are creative, who are genius, who want to make film, but there are people who produce the film. There are people who fund those films. Those two persons are different. Person who is having the creative ability and zeal is different, and person who is putting his or her money is different. So then there is definitely a difference of opinion regarding the compulsions. I'll only tell you one small example. The film which you have seen, Aham Bharatam, and at the end, if you have marked, there is the logo of our own institute. That's it, Indira Gandhi National Center for the Art. So incidentally, we are the producer of that film, and we requested Bharat Bala to make that film. Do you think a government institution can take the risk of making a film like this, where people say, इसमें कहानी कहाँ है? ये समझ में नहीं आती, कहानी कहाँ से चलती है, कहाँ आ जाती है? When Bharat Bala showed the concept, there were people who raised questions कि साहब ये बनेगा क्या? मुझे क्या मालूम क्या बनेगा? It was not speaking anything. But I say we need to have faith on Bharat Bala, and I wish there are more organizations and institutions who can put faith on the creative genius like Bharat Bala, so there is no distortion in our traditional text or traditional literature. That is what I want to say.
I just want to bring some learnings over here, okay? I'm not going to comment on what our industries and what kind of films they are making. I came across a very interesting new expression. So in America, they allow crowdfunding for content creation. And you can raise up to $5 million a year to make a movie. So a studio, a Mormon studio called the Angel Studio in Utah, decided that, you know, Jesus is not cool for young Westerners, okay? Especially people have no interest, young kids. They are all on Snapchats, etc., etc. So they decided, how can we make a friendlier version of Jesus so that people will be able to relate to it? So that got crowdfunded. They raised $5 million, and they made some. After that, there was a lot of crowdfunding. You get into, you have a stake in the film. So without taking any stake, a lot of people contributed to the film. So bottom line, the first set of episodes that they made look at the business that they made out of it. 5 million invested. In return, they got 67 million. Okay, so they made the story. They had the resources to make the story that they want to say. It's probably the most watched show in the world. 1 billion people have watched it. It is in Bengali, Tamil, English, everything. There are some few episodes. It's free to watch. And they made technology so cool. Like, you like a scene in it, you can click on it and you can WhatsApp it to somebody and share it. You can see a scene. Like, you can't do that on Netflix or Amazon Prime. So they made it so inventive and engaging and participative, okay? Now, why can't we do this in our country? The thing is, if people are willing, now it is like top-down approach over here at the moment. Producers will decide what we will watch, we will all watch. Why can't people decide what they want to watch? And we fund it and find the right director, right writers. Let there be a little more democratic way. If one project succeeds like that, that's it. Then the power of people can be made to create content, and there is enough money. Even if you put 10 rupees, imagine the amount of money people can put to make content like this. So I see a big promise in that, but it's in the future. But this is a very successful model that has emerged out of America now. And watch The Chosen. It's called The Chosen on Jesus.
Thank you for that. In fact, I'll just say a word about this whole issue. I feel that we may condemn the West as much as we like, but they're far more creative. They take risks, and they are more inventive. Making Jesus cool, Jesus Christ Superstar, they did it earlier. They made a rock opera out of that, and they will keep doing it. That's the point. Whereas we are much more constrained intellectually, culturally, socially, politically, to take risks, to get out of the box. You know, on the flight recently, I was watching Deadpool and Wolverine. They've completely reversed the entire ideological apparatus of political correctness in that film. You know, and the rise of Trump, you can connect the two, you know. So there's so much to do here, and there's so many opportunities. And as we just heard, we are a country of more than 1.4 billion. I mean, nobody can match us in terms of energy, talent, and ultimately even money. So I noticed a hand up there. Yes, please. No, behind. Yes.
Sir, my question is to Ms. Tripathi, sir. Sir, I heard you saying that we should return back to our root values. So I'm just wondering, if we talk about classical Indian text, we have Purush Sukta, in which we find a theory called Purushartha theory, in which we have 4 components: Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and Moksha. Yeah. So if we talk about 3 components called Dharma, Artha, and Kama, these are social elements, and we can pursue them in in societal setups in today's contemporary setup. But when we talk about this 4th component, that falls into Chaturvarga theory, basically when we talk about this theory as a whole. And this moksha is somehow in this contemporary setup is kind of seen to be otherworldly, something you get after you die, or something you achieve in heaven. So my question is that, is it those people, those who are saying that moksha is kind of out of this theory and Trivarga only exists, that is Artha, Dharma, and Kama. So these people kind of, my question is that these people kind of making a categorical mistake, because they are putting Trivarga in one group and moksha in another group?
I honestly didn't expect a question like this in a storyteller's space, but I'm very impressed. But this deserves a slightly longer answer. I will perhaps catch you outside. But in brief summary, okay, the way I see it, none of us can be sure what will happen after death. Okay, how can we say that with confidence? Because we are not dead. Right? There are theories that are there, and The way I see it, in fact, this was part of our philosophical debates that used to happen. That beyond, the difference between human beings and others is that actually we can imagine, right? So therefore we imagine of what will happen beyond death. Beyond death. The Charvaks believe that actually this is all there is. They were materialists. Hum log marenge and then it's all over, right? There were other theories which are right. There was the Purusharthas. There is the theory of, permanent heaven, permanent hell. We didn't have that in India, but in the traditional Indian way. But there's that concept as well. There are various theories that are there. I find the theory of moksha most inspiring because at least it leads to a balanced life now, right? If we start believing that someone else is going to be in permanent hell forever, just because I don't like him or he's not worshipping my God, this leads to extremism, right? Or if you believe that you will be in permanent heaven forever, can you imagine how boring it would be after a few centuries? I mean, how much wine will you drink, right? So to me, that intellectually does not make as much logical sense, right? Which is why, for me, intellectually, the reincarnation theory makes sense, right? And you get moksha only when you are in balance. This is a very, very short answer to what is a very complicated philosophy. But the sum and substance, we can only be sure when we die, right? As of now, there are theories, and follow the theory which makes sense to you. Who are we to judge others? If something is making sense to them, the materialists, who just want to enjoy life, okay? Don't force your way on me. But if you want to do it, go right ahead.
So, friends, we are running out of time. I think in our civilization, I mean, this is a very profound note on which to end because I do want to show a couple of clips. And we have a dead stop at 6 because we have to go on a boat and party. So you can't come to Goa and not party, right? But I just...
Sir, one question.
So I just wanted to say that this is the only civilization where you not only have the idea of moksha, but also jivan mukti. And the idea is shreya akshatam. So you succeed in this life and in the next life. It's not that you sacrifice this life and only wait for heaven. And even Milton believed that, it's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. That's why Satan rebels. But anyhow, I think let's see the clip. And then nobody's curious about why I said today is a special day and all that. I can still tell you the answer if you're curious. Sorry? Okay, last question to you, ma'am. Yeah, that's it. Then we see the clips.
Thank you so much, sir. Makran sir, kem છો? Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
ચોક્કસ.
Sir, I'm from Gujarat, Ahmedabad, Kusum Makwana. Bharat Bala sir, oh my God, mind blowing. जो आपने दिखाया वो सर जहन में आ गया. Thank you so much, sir. Time to keep it short. Questions भी पूछना है पर जो देखा उसके बाद बोलना नहीं वो तो रोक ही नहीं सकते. Thank you so much, sir. You are all like super seniors and super intellectual people. Thing is that, sir, मेरा question है बालाजी सर से. आपने बोला we can connect to you. You are just getting the talent from the all well. What is the easiest way to connect with you? The first question. Amish sir, the Nagas वाला जो आपका book है, sir, it's very interesting. पूरी जर्नी तो आप नहीं बता पाएंगे पर कहाँ से you get the inspiration and what is the like कुछ ऐसा memorable moment वो write करते हुए, what are the experiences you get when you wrote, sir? आपसे सचिदानंद जी ट्रूली सर आपका जो सेंटर है वो कभी भी मुलाकात ले सकते हैं वो हमें पता है. मैं आई भी हूँ दिल्ली सर. बट थिंग इज दैट आपने जो अभी बताया सॉफ्ट वर्जन अवेलेबल वो हम कहाँ कनेक्ट करके कहाँ मिल सकता है इजीली अवेलेबल विदाउट ऑनलाइन वो भी सर बता पाए तो थैंक यू सो मच सर. थैंक यू.
मेरा तो and Secret of the Nagas is part of the Shiva trilogy. When I was writing that, my boy Neil was very young. So among the most memorable occasions for me, because my Meluha book, I wrote much of it on the back seat of my car. My son hadn't been born at that time. But Nagas Vaiputras, when I was writing that, my son was born. And I used to write at home. I had become a full-time author at that time. And one of my joys of life would be, because when I'm writing, I don't like anyone disturbing me. I leave my phone outside. I don't meet, I take writing breaks. But my son Neil could do whatever he wanted. So I would be writing and he would be very young, maybe 3, 4, 5. You just bang the door open and you just come, Dad, aapka ho gaya kya? That was one of the joys of my life.
Sir, I have a question.
हमारा भी हो गया. I'm so sorry. हमारा भी हो गया. But
He'll
let
give his
them
mobile
answer,
number to
then-
all of you.
Then
No, just, yeah, go to website virtualbharat.com and just write an email to contact@virtualbharat. Positively, you'll get a response. Say, I am the Ahmedabadi at...
On the subject, put Kemcho.
I will tell you in a moment. 24th, sir, not 25th. Last point.
Yeah, about the book is Connecting Through Culture is available, of course, on the online platforms like Amazon and Flipkart, etc. But it is also available at the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts. It is published by the Wisdom Tree Publications, so you can also find out where are the books available. We don't have an online version as yet because the book is quite a bestseller and people are liking it. In fact, I'll give you two instances. This book I gave to diplomats who are posted in India to understand India, maybe second and third level officers, and we had fantastic reviews. And of course, I'll also tell you, a couple of days back, I was asked to address these group of diplomats, 30 of them belonging to 30 different countries, and I was supposed to tell them about the Indian culture in just 1 hour session. Can you imagine how a person like me explain them Indian culture in 1 hour? What I did was, I showed them this film, and then there was no question. So a big round of applause.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll see these clips. 2 minutes, we'll end exactly at 6. Which one? Okay, last question for you. Yeah.
Sir, namaskar. Actually, I never imagined I can see all of you here in one frame, but I won't take too much of time.
You must thank Vaniji for that.
Thank you, ma'am. So, I'm inspired from Bharat Bala, sir, because when I was in college, I saw a lot of your work, even Virtual Bharat. Amish ji, I read your novel, but my daughter is a big fan of you. She read, she was in 8th, that time she read Immortals of Milua. Sir, आपकी मुलाकात अभी हो गई. I'll definitely research about you, but thank you. तो question ये है sir कि revival हो रहा है अभी, Indic Renaissance. There are like a lot of podcasts are happening all over India, globally भी revival है because of trade also in our powerful position. Because without trade, storytellers will not get funds, right? We need support of the society also and government also. Since past couple of years, revival is happening, but people like you must have worked like 20, 30, 40 years back, तब से आप काम कर रहे हो. And you must be having something, that fire in you. Because of that, you created that content, and because of that, people like us are got inspired, and we started creating content. But currently, the situation is that a lot of people, just to become famous in that bandwagon, a lot of people are creating content which is very sensational, either from left or right. And because of that, other people are copying them because of people are getting a lot of fan following. But my question for me and for all other who want to create a timeless pieces like you, what is important, whether a narrative, that word which is very, very trending, or a perspective? And if narrative, why? And if it is perspective, why? Could you please shed some
It's a
light?
very good question. We need a whole session on it. So I think we will defer the answers because we have to stop at 6. I would rather show the clips, But as a moderator, I'll just tell you from my experience, just stay out of the politics and the sensationalism and really do what is meaningful to you, So let's have the clips, but I'll just answer the question why 24th is really important. So I have a personal reason. You want to know? It's my mother-in-law's birthday. She's a doctor and she's done such wonderful work. She's the anchor of a large family. So I wish her very good health because she's taken care of the health of so many people. But I'll tell you, there's a very serious reason. We've heard of one of the great rishis of modern India, Sri Aurobindo. We heard his translation of Bankim's great hymn from Anandamath, but also independently published and sung Vande Mataram. So on the 24th of November 1926, there was a very big spiritual revolution in the Sri Aurobindo ashram, and they call it Siddhi Day, or the Day of Victory. So those of you who are interested, please look it up. I've written a 2-part essay on this in Open Magazine. It's available for free. So thank you all very much for this beautiful session on a beautiful day in a beautiful part of India, Goa. Thank you all. God bless. Have a wonderful evening. We will now have just 1-minute clips from these 2 films, one from Sachidanand Joshi ji on Partition and one Amish ji's clip. Thank you all. Thank you.
When they came from Peshawar, they didn't know that we will not do that.
बड़ी मुश्किल से तो सारा सब कुछ सेटअप हुआ था, फिर पार्टीशन हुआ, उथल पुथल हो गया सारा। दादाजी कहानी बताते थे कि सारी फैमिली को जाने दिया ट्रेन पे, 3 गोलियों उसके साथ, मगर मेरे दादाजी को उतार दिया था। वो एक ट्रॉमा इनके जहन से नहीं उतर सका। We are blessed with this legacy जो almost 100 years old है।
और इन्होंने इस लेगेसी को आगे बढ़ाया।
ईश्वर ने आपको आंखें आगे दी हैं, आगे देखो, पीछे नहीं देखना।
कुड़ी तेरी पटना दी, अज कोई बंदा मिले माईए दे वतना दा।
There must be something special in us that we've not been erased from existence, despite the tide of history having been our enemy for centuries. The story about India that has been taught to us in our schools was very often the viewpoint of our invaders, like the British. That is why I, Amish, am bringing a podcast to you all. A podcast that will speak about India, our culture, our religions, our history, our economy, our climate, our people, our present, our shared future. All told from our viewpoint. Watch Immortal India with me, Amish.
On that note, I would like to thank our esteemed panel for giving us their valuable time and this insightful discussion. Can we please have a big round of applause for them?